Okay. Hey, part two, back with Anthony Lewis talking about property taxes and how why he's for it.
Hey, you know what? Yes, I'm for it. Long overdue.
Are you for okay. Now are you a renter or a property owner or what?
Property owner.
I understand. So I can see the prejudice of them against it. Just kidding. I'm
But I
giving
will
you a hard
say,
time.
for 3/4 of my life, I've
Yeah.
been a renter.
Yeah, I know. I forgot. You have been a renter most of your life. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Okay, so we talk about alternatives. Okay, out of towners paying tax. What else do you think? You're the guy that works there. You know,
Uh, Parking.
Parking? Yeah. What do you mean like parking? Like 24-hour parking or what?
Well, a lot of people who, and this is the difficult part because Toronto, as it is constructed, is not very car friendly. Or sorry,
Yeah.
it's not very pedestrian friendly.
Oh,
That needs to be changed before you even think about taxing people for cars, because it's partially done by no fault of their own. The alternative, TTC, isn't the best. So you're not really giving people an option. So you don't really you're making something that's not pedestrian friendly, roads that are not or streets that are not pedestrian friendly. The transportation's not the best, and then you're like on top of it, because of things that we created, we're going to tax you for a vehicle that you take out of necessity. So that's problematic. In an ideal world, the transportation and the pedestrian friendly streetscape would be the best option, but I can't see myself doing that. The other one would probably be road tolls, payroll taxes.
you mean road like highway tolls you're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah. Now, how would you do that? For your, which are you
That
talking
is,
about? Highway 401 or DVP or what?
I would say DVP.
Yeah. Because I lived in Halifax for 2 years. We paid the two bridges, the toll. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
changed that, but back then, I tell you, flipping that friggin' quarter in that bin and it would and it rolls, you flip like that, and you're doing a slow story, you're stuck there, all this traffic. It's a nuisance.
yeah, absolutely,
It is a
absolutely.
nuisance. It's changed now.
Yeah,
It's
those
all
are
electronic.
yeah. So I would say those are the two major things I would do right now. But I think it's a difficult issue because you want to show Torontonians that you are respecting, like you can't ask for more money if people feel like their money is not being respected,
Yeah, yeah,
right? So it's a difficult situation because to make these improvements so that people feel like their money is being respected, you need more money,
yeah.
right?
Well, what about
So
I don't know. I had an idea a while back when we talked about some of the candidates. Is they always talk about housing for every election. No more housing, more housing. That's nice.
mhm.
Well, the whole situation right there. What about within infrastructure you're not even taking care of, right? For example, I talked to 301 agents, or I call them agents, white officers, and they all say this thing. You gotta increase the fines. You got the same fine for a house or apartment or for a building, the same fine for a factory or an outlet, right? That should be
Mhm.
a big differential. That's what it said, right? Increase the fines, get these landlords to start fixing things, and that's where you can make a
But
lot of money right there. And like they just did our lobby last year, took like 5 months to do the job. We have construction workers working the building. They watched them as they progress. They said it'd have been a 2 month job. It took them 5 months, right?
yeah,
And they,
and
they so
you're
the lobby
familiar
looks
with
really nice. It looks beautiful, right? So I
yeah,
go
yeah,
like, what about the rest of us in our apartments? They're all suffering, like things are falling apart.
yeah, and that's a whole other issue in its own because if you look at
Yeah.
let's say a place like 500 Dawes, I mean
Well, yeah,
the
you
city
you
can
that you
only
talked
do
the
so
last
much.
interview. Yeah, yeah. You know,
Yeah, the city can only do so much, and
if you increase these
a
fines, like
lot of
it's like
the people.
instead of like they pay like 200, now they increase it to be $200. That's I think it's 400 for a fine, but that's not enough. It should be a
No,
straight,
because
it should be a straight fine, $1,000 right there, and then increase right
yeah,
there,
but
and you'll
the
make
issue is that
and the city will make. You'd be surprised. Well, what do you think? How much money do you think the city will make if they starts triple finding all these deadbeat landlords and property managers?
well, here's the way it works from what I understand. So if a landlord gets a fine and they don't pay the fine, it goes to their property taxes. Okay.
Yeah,
So if it is the case that renters pay property taxes, who do you think ends up paying for those fines?
yeah,
It gets transferred right back to you,
that's good, right?
right? So then it's a difficult situation of okay, if that's what they're doing, how like at what point does the city step in And when I say when does the city step in? What does the city do? Do they take over the building? That sounds great, but there are a lot of things that come with that. Can the city afford to take over the building? If not, that's not an option. If they do, how much more would it cost?
Yeah.
Where are you going to get this extra money? Can the city just go around every time this happens? They just take over the building?
Yeah, but we already seen how the city takes care of the buildings. Look at TCH. How many bills they have now? Now they got like 7 on the screen. I went to this conference
Yeah,
the other not too long ago. They go, "What is
it's
this?"
a very complicated issue, and ideally, yeah, you would like something like that to be possible, but it comes with a lot of like fine print. Like, yeah, they can. I don't like the city. I don't think they could afford to, because then it's like it becomes the city's problem. So, for example, like a place like 500 Dawes, maintenance wise, they'd have to pay those fees or those fines that they basically charge the person,
Yeah,
bring it up to a state of good repair, which
yeah,
is a very huge undertaking.
yeah.
So yeah, it's a very difficult situation. Now, all 3 levels of government working together can get something done.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So examples say like we had a tenant association we did last year. So we had the question was the guy running it. He's now left. I think you know him. And he said we had a question was how many people in the lobby had like 60 people. So the question was who needs stuff done in their apartment. So like 30 people put their hands up. So like say just for example. So tell me what goes. So you charge each person that's $1,000, right? It's not doing
Mhm.
that. So $1,000 fine for each tenant put their hand up. So that's like 30 grand right there. So you tell me that 30 grand goes to the building. Now where does that go? Back to us, you're saying, or what?
So, so fines get put on the tax roll, so the tax roll
Yeah.
number. And when properties come up due, there's that you have to pay. The owner pays it. The owner gets that money from tenants.
Oh, I honestly like okay. Say you send the bill to the old property manager. Like, okay, you owe 30 grand for not getting this done, right? So when he has to pay that, right? Like, if the city enforces by a certain time frame, right? He's
Mhm.
got to pay that. So that comes out of his surplus or whatever is
Yes,
right.
but they can also do rental increases. So there's
Yeah,
ways
but that's
around.
where you gotta make. That's where you gotta make some new bylaws about this. There's no bylaws about that, right? This,
But
like you
here's the
said,
thing. I think Toronto has so many bylaws. How many of them are actually enforced, and how do you
well,
enforce them?
yeah, exactly. How many are enforced, right? Well,
They don't
we
have.
had the whole last week they had the whole deputation for the noise pollution, right? Like Ingrid Boudet is a big noise for Toronto, and she talked about that. Like how many we're talking about how many are enforced. Like, there are bylaws for noise pollution, right? But how many are enforced? That's the thing. You
Mhm.
can make more
Yep.
bylaws and add on to the noise pollution, but are they
Yep.
enforced? You know, and that's the
Mhm.
thing. As long and who's going to enforce them?
Yeah.
Do we have enough manpower or one power to get things done, right? It's nice, like I said, it's nice to put all
Yep.
these
You need
bylaws
to
in.
hire more people.
Well, example, like I was gonna do my deputation last week, and I was gonna say in this bill, like in the area, I took a survey, and people talked to me like on the last Thanksgiving weekend, 8 buildings were under construction, which are against the rules on
Mhm.
especially stat holidays, right? But there's nothing to enforce it. I phoned 301 for my building. They work Saturday, Sunday, Monday, so that's Thanksgiving weekend. So people want to have a time off, like
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
they sent the officer, but still but they go back to the property manager if you're aware of the rules and regulations, why are you allowing this? I even asked them after it was over. I said, "Oh, we didn't know. You're just playing dumb. That's silly. If you're a property manager, that's back, and that goes to another. That's another aspect we talk about. I'm part of Acorn, and I agree with what they say. Some of the policies, a lot of them, and one thing I really
Great
agree, they should,
organization.
they should all be licensed. Every property manager and
100%.
superintendent, and you know why? Because they take this course run organized by the government, whatever, and just look at a association, a tenants, landlord association. You sign off on the course, and you got to meet those standards. And you go,
Hmm.
and it's a monthly thing. If you don't meet those standards, you get charged for that. You get fined for that. It comes back on you, not the tenant, right?
Hmm.
So, like in this building, we've gone through about 15 superintendents in this building.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm serious. 15, and we go every time we go to the new one and do the whole rigmarole and all that stuff, the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
rent increase and parking, that's another story itself. But I'm just saying that tells you the high turnover. Reflects on the owners of this building. Like, the same at Eglinton, the same owners at old Eglinton, the whole rent strike. That's the same owners, right? And
Okay.
that's
Okay.
yeah. Barney River is the owner of this building, the one across the street, 105. This is 100.
Oh.
And the
Right,
other
right.
one, the two in England, they have the rent strikes. Chira and all their and
Yep.
ruler, yeah, they protested this, right? That's the same owners that own those two buildings, right? So
Jeez.
that reflects on the owners of the buildings. But I talked to some of the caretakers from this building. I saw them recently. They said the ones down 10 are like mint. They're beautiful. They take care of them. I said, I don't understand that. So they're neglected up here. Why are they taking care of down there, right? Better hire renters or
Mhm.
what? Doesn't matter. They're all renters. So I'm just saying,
Yep.
like, yeah. So like they should be. Well, are you going to take your son to some guy who's not a doctor? He's almost going to get a certificate or whatever. Would you go and take your son? Say I'm all doctor. I'm almost going. I haven't done my test yet, but I'm almost qualified. Well, I'll take in your son. Do you trust me? Would you trust him? You know,
Probably not.
no, because it hasn't got. He's not certified, right? That one piece of
Correct.
paper. So all these
Mhm.
people that they have these people that I talked to many times during the elections, like your buddy's your superintendent. Hey, you want to be my superintendent? Really? What the heck is that? I give you a lot of
Yeah.
examples of bad superintendents. Like people come into my apartment. I'm in the bathroom. I had one superintendent. He's from Korea. He just hired this guy with his wife. And he knocked on my door during nobody's home. And I said, fix my pipe later on when I'm home. I'm in the bathroom, sitting down. I told the story many times. He comes knocking on my door. Really? Standing butt naked there, open the door, like, what's your freaking problem?
Oh,
Oh yeah, I was gonna charge him. I said, get the heck out of here.
yeah, yeah.
That's not properly trained. If that was a woman, he'd be charged with assault. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Just back to the improper training, like you said, they should all be licensed, all of them,
Mhm.
not some schmo hanging off the streets there,
But
right?
then we get back to the debate. Okay, let's say they abuse their license. What happens?
They abuse their license,
Yeah, like let's say they don't follow the rules.
they're gone.
How does but what does that mean though? So they get fired and we find somebody else?
You have to. That's the way it works, right?
Or does the city
Any
take it
job
over?
like that, your job, it's your job. It's a job. It's a title. Like,
Mhm.
and then I had to debate one of the guys during the by-election. He defended the landlords. Well, they're always busy doing other. I don't care what the other side jobs are. If you got a job, you get landlord. That's your job. You're hired to that job. You go by the rules. Don't say other jobs. That's where you're so busy doing other stuff that he can't take care of the tenants. And you should be taking care of the tenants, right? But I said they'd be gone. Charged and fired. Also, I talked about with some fellow police officers, and they
Yeah,
went to a lot of inspections of all these places. And they shook their heads. Like, some of these landlords should be charged for criminal neglect. Neglect because in the contract you sign as renter,
yeah.
you sign these necessities. I'll give you an example. One guy in this building, he passed away a while back, and he was on dialysis. Dialysis. He had a machine in his apartment. Now, nobody notified they were
Mhm.
going to turn the power off all week, every day. He didn't know this until
Oh
yeah. So,
man.
oh yeah, an example. So we knew who he was, but he was by himself. Nobody knew who he was, but we knew who he was. So we told what's going on. We had to take him out of there somewhere else with his power to work his machine.
Yeah, yeah,
Now, if he was by himself, nobody knew the guy, he'd be dead. So that comes to
yeah.
neglect. Would that count? Now, would you charge that landlord for criminal neglect or not manslaughter? Can't the word. What do you call for neglect? Cause of death, neglect of
Well, yeah,
notification. Yeah, because if the landlord knows, and also they know each tenant and what their medical needs are. And that's another thing I think that everybody should know which apartment. Like my mom, she's by herself. What her medical needs are. She's on dialysis. If he knows this guy's on dialysis, and he's okay, we're gonna turn the power off. I gotta let this guy Randy know we're gonna have no power. We're gonna make another situation or ask him if he can find somebody or maybe we can help him out in some way, right? Some landlords are really good. I don't say all
mhm.
landlords are bad. Some are really good. Like the one across the street, the building run by a bunch of New Brunswickers, beautiful, excellent.
Yeah, yeah.
Best landlords. But I say this guy, now would that come back to neglect, charging, a couple of involuntary manslaughter? I don't know what the word is, but no, it's still like he caused without letting that guy know there's no power to help his machine to keep him alive, he'd be dead. So
Mhm.
that's what I mean. So like I talked to some of the police officers I got to know ex-military guys that are cops. They said they simply when I went during my election during my campaign, I ran to a few of them. Say, hey, come look at this apartment. I like one down the lakeshore. Come to yeah, check that out. Holy smoke, this guy should be charged. Who's the landlord? Charge this guy, man. Neglect. You know, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like
Like
that.
like yeah, it's I can
So
I can
so you
understand.
said earlier, you said like should they what happens after they abuse their
Yeah,
power?
because there has to be something where it goes, okay, if you do this, these are the consequences.
And you
Now,
can't be hired
it's
down
one
as a
thing.
landlord anymore. No more. You can't be a superintendent. You can't recourse yourself or whatever.
Okay, so then what happens is we find a new landlord,
You have to. That's one certified. You know,
but then how do you do that? Because the landlord who you choose would have to one be able to afford it, afford the upkeep. Obviously, you'll have the license as well, right? And I don't think there's like a bunch of, I find in terms of property ownership, there's always just like a select group of people in Toronto who have like multiple properties and they
Yeah,
kind
well,
of like
this one
know each
year,
other,
like the one I do, the one we deal with, yeah, exactly, right? You
right?
know,
So it's
but
like
the
you're
thing
going
is,
to choose from like, okay, so the fifth person couldn't do it. You got one, two, three, and four, and their records are not as bad, not as good either, right? So you're choosing the best of the worst
yeah.
in some cases, right? So does that kind of
Well,
help the problem?
the thing
Not
is,
really,
there's no precedence. There's nothing about beyond this that hasn't even looked into. Like this is, well, a doctor malpractice, the nurse, would you fire her? And a guy in the office with you, a guy not doing your job, like you fire a guy working for you, then he what? Have go to another position because there's so many positions out there and so many people available for that position, right? Because there's
right?
lots of like there's you saying there's
But for
so you're
landlords,
saying
the field is small for landlords, right?
yeah, but well, if they hire 15 guys for this building, there's quite a few then, right? But they're not certified, you know.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying like landlords in terms of like property owners who own these properties. Superintendents, yeah, they come and go because there's uh the openings for there are more superintendents that are looking for work than there are positions.
Yeah.
In the case of being a landlord, I would say that the opposite is true. There are less properties than there are landlords,
Properties, okay, yeah, yeah. But there's a limit,
right? So
right?
it'll be harder because they have to meet certain requirements. They have to be able to financially afford to do it
Yeah.
and be willing to do it. You're not going to find many people like that. I mean, maybe I don't think highly of landlords, but
Maybe the first.
yeah, like if you take a landlord that already owns a building and you're like, here's another one, would it be possible that the care that they put will slightly go down because instead of one building, they're now taking care of two?
True too, and all yeah, yeah, yeah. But when they come down on the people that own the buildings, the property owners themselves, you
Sorry?
know, when they come down on the property owners, not just the landlords, people that own the buildings, like the people that own
Yeah.
this building, this company, like I told you, they go through so many superintendents, not only superintendent, also property managers as well. We've been through at least 10 or 12 property managers in the last 18 years, and that tells you something. See, that's a reflection on the people that
Wow.
seriously, that's a reflection on the people that, well, the whole thing had exit. That's a reflection. When I saw what was going on, I said, that's a reflection on the people that own the building.
Mm,
You're treating your tenants like like slum. You're a
mm,
slumlord. This is Toronto. This is the 20th century, 21st century, right? This ain't no back in the 60s, 70s we can get away with. This is like today's living. People and
yeah.
the amount of increased people with special needs, the guy in the Dallases, people in different apartments, like some are pretty good. Like there's a lady up on our two ladies on seniors on the 10th and 11th floor. I help do their light bulbs because the superintendent will not do it. It's not his job, you know.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm just saying like that. That means just some simple. I got a big ladder. I have a ladder. I go up
Yeah, yeah.
there. I go up there and she calls me. Not once in a while. I go up there and because she can't go up by herself. Like mom, she
Absolutely.
can't. That's the thing. You're not because you're not if you're going by the rules. Like because there's no rules. There's no set standard regulations. Keep the upkeep. Also for seniors. Seniors, there's nothing for seniors. Seniors need extra special care for every apartment they've been in. Everybody.
Yeah.
Example like that. Well, you probably heard stories like they found Mrs. So and so. The apartment started stinking bad. Like nobody bothered about her. There should be
Yeah,
an up.
yeah.
There should be not an upkeep. There should be not a surveillance, but see how she's doing. Have for Mrs. So and so for so long. Like see
Yeah.
how she's. It doesn't happen,
Yeah.
and it's sad, right? You know, like
Absolutely.
my
Like that reminds me of like you know, both my parents rent and they tell me their stories and you know, it's it's crazy. Like it's crazy out there where you work hard, you pay your taxes, you do as you're told, and then in your later
yeah, it comes
years,
back to being a caring landlord. If you care about being a landlord and you want to take care of your tenants, you'll fix things. You keep an eye on them, right? It's like you're being their. It's like a family, right? We're
exactly,
all yeah.
exactly.
Like the one of my buddies, Chris, he passed away in this building 10 years ago. He
Mm,
was had kidney damage. He's an alcoholic. A good guy,
right,
real out earth down earth guy. And I went away for a while, and then I came back, and he had a routine. I always used to see him come around, go to the store, and come back. But I was away for about 2 weeks, and I come back, and people said, "Have you seen so and so and Chris?" And then told me a story that he was disappeared for 2 weeks. Nobody knew where he was, right?
mhm.
Because I was the only one visiting him, another guy, and he was away. So they had to call the medic or paramedics, and they came. They found him. He kidney damage and he died in his bathtub, blood everywhere, being graphic or. But he was neglected. Nobody knew what, except for me and another guy. Nobody knew what his problem was, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and he's still drinking to this day. But he's found in the bathroom, and then they started getting a smell down the hall from the apartment,
Uh,
right? Yeah, so
Right.
I'm just saying that's an example that shouldn't happen. No seniors. I'm big on seniors to be neglected or like just like the whole light bulb thing. Just for example,
Yeah.
yeah. The lady asked me, she said, "I've asked I've asked Richard or Robert who was before." I said, "Can you change?" No, that's not my job description. Well, would you do the same for your mother? Sorry, mom. You're old. If that's your mom, if you can treat a tenant like that, you got to treat your mother the same way, right?
Yeah. And I think we've lost the
We
some people
have.
have lost the sense of community. They
Yes.
look at people as like a financial transaction, right? And that will be the ultimate downfall of our city when we
Like, well,
start seeing each
I
other.
lived in Richmond Hill before I came back to Toronto. I was in Richmond Hill in my apartment up there, and I had a landlord. It's a 6 level building, but he knew
Yeah.
exactly who was in the apartment, what needs there. I was a shift worker. I had no medical. He took that. He took all the information down. He was a good landlord, and he said, and I also had strict rules like you're two people per apartment. That's what you signed for. Like we had one tenant in the building. She brought her son in there with a girlfriend. He said, no, 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 you're out. You got 2 days to get out of there because that you're not part of the this thing there. Even though you're living there, that's not allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he knew a lot of seasons of my building up in Richmond, and he knew all the medical needs and all that. So if he had a routine. If he knew he had heard from Mrs. So and So down the hall, he'd ask me, "Have you heard from so and so down the hall?" I go, "No." Okay, let me go. I'm gonna go knock on the door, check on her, and
See, yeah,
that's just called responsible. And he's old school. He's old school, right?
absolutely, absolutely.
Like I said, these things have to change about that because these lands don't answer to nobody. Like I said, if
Yeah.
one gets fired, what are you gonna do? Short of their landlords and all.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Literally the Wild West out here.
And they should make being a landlord should be appealing. Should be a privilege to be a landlord to take care of tenants. I mean, you've hired to do the job. You take
Hmm.
care of tenants like you do the same in a hotel, right? So what's the difference? You know.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think just people are just too motivated with the money and looking at people as a financial transaction, and you can't build communities on that.
No,
Sorry.
the community is there within the community. The people among themselves take care of each other. Like me, talking about Randy and the lady upstairs. That we know each other. Like, but there's nothing but above that.
Yeah.
Like I said, like, I was away. Chris, nobody but Chris. He's by himself, right? That's a for example.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm gonna change the subject here. I'm gonna ask you your opinion about this. I went down. I was online for the
Yeah.
last. It's my pet peeve. You probably heard my ranting. I did a video. They had a noise pollution deputation on Thursday. I was on
Okay.
42 people on the list. I was number 23, right? So they had
Okay.
okay. So my turn came up, and I've used WebEx many times. Zoom, I have no problem. So my turn came, and I got muted 3 times. And then the clerk said, "Use your phone." So I used the phone. So I used the phone. I'm online, and she said, "Okay, you go through." And then put me on. Alexandra was Alondra was doing she was the madam speaker or whatever. And then I got muted. And then she said, "Oh, sorry, I went to your computer and said your phone. You got to hang up again." Are you serious? So I was pissed. So I said, "Okay, I'm retired." So this is why I asked you the question. Do you think it should be scheduled for times? I know I've asked you before. They don't go like that. That's the way they run it. Okay. Ours was in the afternoon, so I'm making
Okay.
15 bucks an hour. I got 3 kids. I've taken time off of work. I'm making 15 bucks an hour. I was there since 9 o'clock, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 30. I've lost over 150 bucks. My turn came on 335. I've lost over almost $200 in that day. My train came up. I got muted. Okay. I'm a working stiff. I've lost that money. Can't get it back.
Hmm.
Okay. Nothing personal, but you're all counselors. You're getting paid to sit there all day. We're not. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a shift worker. I'm a doctor. I gotta go. I got an appointment to do an operation, right? I gotta do this. I can fit in my schedule. I can do. Can I do the? Can you work deputation? I can do it early. I can make an answer like anybody has a job or some sort of crisis I gotta take care of, or seniors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put them ahead of time, right? You know.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, then that's not the way they run. So my pet peeve is I think it's terrible because if you're working, just
Yeah.
think like last year they had a lady came in. I think it was 2 years ago. She came in and something I don't know what happened with the deputation ended up being misinformation, not on her part, but on the city council. So you have to come in another day. And I said, "Are you serious?" And she said, "I'm taking time off from my work. I'm missing 2 days of work." "Oh, I'm sorry, we're working full time. We're in city council. Sorry, come back tomorrow."
That sounds like something. Yeah. Yeah. That sounds like very similar to something I was at a hearing, and it was against a tenant complained about the landlord, and the tenant showed up, took time off work, and the landlord didn't. So they said, "Oh, we got to reschedule." And the tenant was
Yeah.
like,
See?
"I took time off of work, and you're telling me this?" Like this landlord, what? They're not in the country or something like that. And yeah, we definitely need to change how the city
So
interacts with
she
just
that was a lady lost
regular people.
she lost that money that day for 2 days.
Yep.
Yeah. So where's that money going to come from? You want me to pay
Exactly, right?
rent? You want me to
And
pay
then
rent, and I can't afford it because you're not there to represent yourself.
yeah, exactly. And with those interactions, you can't be surprised when someone walks away and goes, I'm not a fan of the city of Toronto. They just don't, they're not working for me. I'm paying them through my
Yeah,
tax dollars, but they're not working for me. Just simple, like something simple as that. Now, what would be the alternative? I don't know, but I know what we're doing now is not it.
it's obsolete. It's been outdated. Like you said early in the first interview, a lot of things have not been called for changing rules, regulations, right? Things are
Mhm,
outdated. All is like the landlords. This thing, landlords, that's outdated. There's no answer to these. They don't answer anybody. There's nothing to answer. No precedents. This
mhm.
whole city council. Like that's my first deputation I actually attended online. And I'll tell you right now, it's my last. I'll never do it again. You know,
See, and that's a loss for the city because for every
I
person,
could have done stuff on my. I can take my mom. I switched my mom's medical appointment for that day. I could have gone and taken her for medical, and she's a senior. A senior with needs. I said, Mom, I got this deputation. Let's do another day. What a waste of time. But they don't.
mhm,
I was trying to control my venting. I said, you know what, you counselors, I declare war on you. I said, this is bull that you have to act like this, and you just
yeah,
nonchalantly like waiting all day on the computer. For my turn to come up there. I mean, I could have done other things, right? But like, they broke up after lunch, and it was like 42 of us. So instead of the first three two curriculums, everybody had 5 minutes. So because of the amount of people in the second part, we're number five on the noise. Okay, now you
yeah,
have 3 minutes. Now you're broken down 3 minutes to talk. So Ingrid Boudet, who's organized the noise pollution, she's now broken down to 3 minutes to talk. I said, okay. But luckily, she had good counselors like Shelley Carroll
mhm,
and what's her name? Fletcher. They asked
yep,
her questions, so she asked her questions, and she actually could add on to continue on her conversation about the noise pollution, which is great. But that
yeah,
doesn't always happen in every situation. So like,
absolutely.
so now you're waiting there all day. Now you what? Now I got 3 minutes instead of 5 minutes. I mean, 2 minutes. 2 minutes to me is like $50 out of my pocket. you know.
Yeah. No, but if
Yeah.
you think about it, the apathy that some people have towards the city is just not something that happened over one transaction, maybe, but most likely it's several transactions that have created this.
Yeah.
And as a city, if we're really looking about working not only just efficiently, but welcoming everybody, we got to be accommodating in the sense we got to update some of our processes.
Yeah, do you think
It
we're
does not,
like we had like 42 people in the afternoon? Like that went into the 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. I finished after three. I just hung up. But I'm saying like instead of trying to squeeze everything in one day, do you think it could just broaden it out more? Like say instead of having 42 people in the afternoon, say like have like 20. So you got 20 on a times. Like my time is
yeah, yeah,
3:30. It may run over by 5 minutes of questions with the other person prior to me, but at least I know it's around that time. I'm not gonna wait like 3 hours for my turn to come up and then nothing happens, right? I mean, they can just,
yeah.
you know,
I would believe there's a way more efficient way of doing things. We're just,
yeah,
I don't know. I find that some parts of the city are not ready for that kind of change because it's scary because we don't know what it'll look like. But
yeah.
I
But
think
if you
any
don't
sort of
try
change would
something,
be better
something's got
than
to
we have
change.
now.
Like just people have been in deputation
Yeah,
with
and
medical
people,
needs. I
yeah,
remember, I
and
remember.
people have
Thanks for
tried
you
to
remind me. I
run,
remember this.
and
Sorry, you remind me of something just years ago. This is years ago. I don't remember this. A guy came and did a
yeah,
deputation,
yeah,
and he had a tank, an air tank, whatever, right?
yeah,
Oxygen tank. That was it was connected. He had a
okay.
little. So because he thought it was going to be early, but they ended changing the curriculum later on in the afternoon. He had to leave because he was running out of air. Come on.
Oh,
Could you just change that to put the guy ahead of time? Like, he's got needs. Like, you look at the guy's obviously he's on an oxygen tank, but then you got the guy waiting all day. And he had to say, he said, I can't get, I gotta go back or I don't know, we had to go one of the stores or to get his refill on oxygen or something. So he ended up missing his opportunity. I mean, it's just a
yeah.
shame, right?
The way
You
it
know?
is, it doesn't work for working class individuals. I would say individuals overall, but especially for those who are working class who do shift work. Like, there's no way. And if you're really serious about change,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to change the way you interact with people because this showing up for deputations or signing petitions. It's if you really want to engage people, you have to be serious about it. You can't just be like, well, here's where I'm going to be. Come see me here to engage. Like, no,
Yeah,
you got to go out to the people, right? And
exactly.
that might mean going door to door, old school. Like,
Yeah. That's what's missing, right?
I don't know.
It's
I
still
don't know if
like
we're sorry.
it's still that gap, like you said, like the last election and the prior one, there was like I talked to a number of people through the campaigning and even after, like more like this last night, the two subjects we're talking about food security, which is my thing, you know that, and the other thing was as housing, right?
Yeah.
Not housing, building housing, but actually housing within infrastructure. And what happened after the election? First thing is food bank, Fort York food bank. Big news. Why is it big news? Like after the election, that's actually part of an election thing right there. But now they're talking about it after the election. In the meantime, it's not part of news curricular news. It wasn't part of, it wasn't what news friendly for the election. Like you know what I mean? Like things that are priorities are not priorities in any election platform the last 2 years that I've seen. Food security,
Yeah.
rent control, rent reduction, that wasn't discussed about. This is all
Yeah.
core stuff for the people we talk about. The next election, 2026, I guarantee you, the same things will be brought up. The same crime, TTC, housing, the same thing will be, right? The people you both know, we
Yeah.
both know, they're not gonna catch up with housing 2026. There are all these promises about building and all that stuff. And I mean they're on it right now, but there's no way to catch up, you know.
Yeah, and I think the issue with that is that we would have those conversations if those who were directly affected by those. I mean, they're people we need. In other words, what I'm trying to say is people are so disenfranchised with the institutions that they work with that to ask them to show up come election time is like you've already worked so hard to
Yeah, yeah,
push them away, and
yeah.
now you're like, oh, here's your chance to have a say, and it's like you don't even give me a say to the day from the day to day.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
now this big event, you want me to come and vote for you when
Yeah.
like
Th-
I
Thanks
totally
for
get it.
yeah, and thanks for reminding me. The one last week during deputations, they talked about the delta. That's another top topic right now. The increase. You
Yeah,
know about
yeah.
that? The delta. They want to increase the delta for hotel for the homeless.
Okay, I didn't hear about that. No.
Oh yeah, it's a big thing, right? Yeah. So Sun is an organization of Scarborough, Sun, part of Scarborough. Sun is Scarborough United Neighborhoods, and they're organizing
Yep.
the get together with the new party candidate, new candidate or new council. So they made an announcement they're going to extend the another 5 years for using the Delta as a homeless shelter for a shelter of homeless, right? But the rule
Okay.
they were they're supposed to stop. So if you watch the deputations online, you'll see the two not property, city managers, and this is a solution. That you see them talking. I'm sitting there going like, "You're old school. You're out of date. Like this is your solution. You can't think of anything else." And they said, like, we can't. This is the only way we can do it is increase the 5 years for homeless. That's not the solution. And then one guy, son, the guy that organized, his name's Ron. He calculated and he put down there it's going to cost $33 million in the 5 years to, to house shelter homeless. That $33 million can be used something else, not just temporary house, not temporary shelter, proper housing, proper education. Like this
Yeah.
thing, they're doing the whole thing about the whole extending the delta. Like I don't know if you remember, I don't know how long you've been around. Like I remember as a kid going to that hotel. My friend's grandmother used to work there. We used to go and have lunch in there. It was a beautiful hotel. This is way back, like before they even changed names. This is like before they
Delta
became
Chelsea.
no, it was something else. It was two hotel chains. I had to look it up, but back then it was like it was a fancy name, and it was like beautiful. It was beautiful. The hotel was like just stood out on Scarborough. This is way
Yeah, yeah.
back. But now, like these property managers, these city managers are saying this is the only way we can do it. This is not the solution. I discussed some
That's
videos
not.
before, and I talked to Sun and some organize other Acorn. I've talked to more neighbors, community benefits, other organizations as well. We talked among us, and you know what? And we all say the same thing. Well, you know each other. Is what about stuff you got empty buildings? You got empty stuff here sitting around. Empty like Rexdale. They evacuated buildings that's sitting empty. One of the accountants took a video of that. Like also Metro, I get Metro Convention Center. I did there for an event there. There all this extra space sitting there blank, doing nothing. It's
Yeah.
just down the street. When I
Mhm.
was in the military back in the 80s, you used to have a. I don't know if you remember this. Back in the 80s, you had the homeless would be invited to the Metro Convention Center, and they had food there. This is
Oh
during the
wow. Okay.
yeah food. We had nurses there. We had doctors come do medical needs. They gave them vouchers, and it was all set up. It was just a day thing, but it wasn't a sleeper. But still, that's just an example. And the amount of people that came there, it was just like business. And then why can't you just extend that? Have them stay overnight. They just want a place to stay overnight. Put them somewhere that's warm. They don't care. Because they think they want housing in beautiful apartments. No, they don't care about that. I've
Yeah.
talked to a lot of people on the streets. I've talked to quite a few of them. And they say, we just want a place to stay overnight. We don't care if there's gonna be some fancy bathroom with taps and all. We just get you out of the cold. The main thing is get you out of the cold, regardless. If it's an apartment down, like even like some of the buildings downtown, like some of they have security. All these guys, I know
Yeah.
quite a few. I get to know a lot of volunteers that need to be here, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know some of the security. I've asked two of them to show me down in the basement. They got beautiful basements, all conventions areas, never used. Sits there like half a year. I said you can use that. Like some
Yeah.
hotels in Europe,
But
you
again,
actually make
those are like temporary solutions, right?
Yeah,
And
but
all in
yeah,
all,
even
we
yeah,
need
I
to do.
know. You can do better, but the thing is, my point is to get them out of the cold. That's the thing, right? Get them out of the
Yes.
cold, put them somewhere warm. That's the main. Never mind the warming center. That's nice. It's great. That's just temporary. But
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
get. You can, I believe you can get everybody out of the cold. Let's live on the streets. Put them somewhere in and out. Like I said, it's temporary. It's not a solution, but at least it's keeping them alive. You got to keep them alive. That's the main
Yeah.
thing. And then you look
Hmm.
forward to the next day, and that's the main thing, right? Like all these, like even
Yeah.
like 4th-year farmers, like they're thinking about doing that. Like I worked there with the reserves. You could sleep 200 guys down there, right? You know,
Mm.
doesn't know. I get it to you. I look up my history, like Canadian history and armed forces. Doesn't know. There's no clause. There's another thing. They have not changed the laws from World War II about housing, emergency, and city emergency. City war state. They still have these old rules. They actually, if you really want to, yeah, it's funny. You can actually,
Wow.
yeah, you can actually call. You can call it not a state of. They have a different word for it in the military, where we're in an active war situation or died like during the depression. They put the military back then. They had a clause kick in with place to become shelters, housing, and they had no choice. It was done by the government. It was placed in. It was a law. Like like all these places that they don't want to give up the like Metro Convention Center. They passed this thing. It's old school. You gotta look it up. They could pass it, and they had no choice. It's right there. Convenient 4-year armory, 4th-year armory, Washington Park armories. There's actually old forts that have been taken apart. There's actually the basement still sitting there from what I heard, and they can house.
Thank
There's
you for
still
telling me. I learned something new.
yeah, and people don't believe me. I tell this back in the days of World War One, when they built these Fort Yorks and all these, they built tunnels everywhere under the city. They don't believe. Oh yeah, where's your proof? What am I gonna go take pictures when I've seen it at Fort York Armory. There's a tunnel that goes from one of the reserve units. I've
Yeah.
seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can actually go all the way up north towards City Hall. These are all things like because you got to think common sense. During the World War II, they built bomb shelters, right?
Yeah.
If they're gonna bomb a fort or an armory, they're gonna build shelters underneath. Like just like World War One, they got these. Yeah, this it's not on any map. You can't find it. It's just
Yeah. Yeah.
there, right? But they don't. These are like areas they can put not tunnels, but basements. All the how like the other thing about 4-year armories is there's no stairs going down to the basement. There's no. It's not accessible. That's the other thing. But they have the main parade square. They have bathrooms there. They have an
Right.
upstairs.
Right.
But these are all places we use. Temporary. 200 guys there, 200 women there. The thing
Yeah.
with the churches, right? We got 2 minutes left. The thing with the churches, like they have these temporary churches. There's actually a school up here, just north of Gordon Baker. It's a primary school. It's been sitting there empty because the guy that used to teach, he retired. He told me this. They just use it for administration purposes and other things. But it's an empty school. It just sits there. Yeah, it's a beautiful school.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
just one
Yeah.
example. But they can use for if they want to. Got 1 minute. Gonna cut off here. Got 1 minute left. Gonna leave the time for you. Got 1 minute. 1 minute left to just end it off with yourself. There, getting into this so much.
You know what? Like, I think even outside of this, we have to just have a coffee one day. We'll have a great talk
Yeah,
because
we got it for coffee. Yeah. Get it for
yeah,
coffee.
not the winter though. I'm not a winter
No, no,
dude.
no, 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 no. I stay in. I'm like you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But no, I've learned much from you, and I always feel that
I learned from
uh
you. The whole thing with the finances and the
when
whole
when
way
I'm
things
on the
do.
like the last time I learned a lot from you, and this time I'm learning a lot from you. And this is
Oh
why
no, no, no.
I like doing this because it's like I'm not here to speak only. I'm here to like listen, and
Oh
I
yeah, like
just
the
love
same way back and forth. Yeah.
this interaction is awesome, man. And
My
yes,
my
thank you.
my my educated intelligence is a reflection of your intelligence.
You slide dog you.
I got you.
You
I'm
got
gonna
me.
cut off. Yeah, I got 1 minute left. So you want to end it off there, Anthony? Just anything you want to say before you get 60 seconds.
All right, Phil, I want to say thank you for having me on the show today. It's been great to see, your growth in terms of how you started the show and where you're at now. And I'm glad to be a part of the process. Thank you
Oh
for the
well, thank
opportunity.
you so much. And I gotta say it's an honor to have you as a friend. Met you last year, get to know you. Honestly, you're a good
Thank
father,
you.
good man, good, and just do what you do. And if you ever need any work in community, give me a call. If you want to promote something in my video, give me a call. Let's do it. We'll
Yeah.
do it.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
it, man.
I'm gonna get cut off here soon. Just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I'll send you copies of the video. You can just read it, and then we'll talk. We'll go for coffee when it gets warmer.
Yes.
This time for sure. Yeah, yeah. I hate cold. I know. So have a good day and say wish your family happy New Year's for me, will you? Yeah.
Thank you.
And let your son keep the scar.
Have a good day, man.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony.